We are going to be dividing multi-digit decimals by other decimals all the way to the hundredths place if we need to. So taking a decimal, dividing it by another decimal. So we did whole numbers yesterday, and it's the same process. There's just one other step we're going to do first. Let's take a look at that. So we have 356.16. This is what we have. So that goes inside here as our dividend. So 356.16, we're dividing it by 5.3. Now it's easier when we're splitting things up into whole groups than by decimals and fractions. So rather than splitting things up into a third of a group, this 0.3, we want to move our decimal backwards. So we times this by 10. So when I take 5.3 and I times that by 10, I'm going to put this placeholder here. Here's 3 and 5, one decimal place is 53. So I just made this 10 times bigger. But since I made this number 10 times bigger, I also have to make this number 10 times bigger. So I'm going to put my decimal in between this 1 and 6 here instead of at the front. So I made my divisor 10 times bigger, make your dividend 10 times bigger. If the decimal was 2 places, I'd move it 2 and do the same thing. So it's kind of like fractions. Whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom, or equations. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So same thing here. We have to keep everything balanced by doing the same thing to both parts of the problem. So now I have 53 into 3,000. So I took, instead of doing 356, now I have 3,561.6 divided by 53. So I'm going to make a list of my 53s here to help get us started. So we know we have 53, and I'm adding on 53 more. Takes us to 106. So there's next. And if I look here, I need a number above the 3, the 5, the 6, the 1, and this 6 here, and here's my decimal. So I know 53 cannot go into 3, and it cannot go into 35. So I'm looking for something close to 356. I'm going to keep on going here, adding groups. So here's 9, 5, 1. So 159, 53 more. So there's 12, 10, 11, and 2. So 212, getting closer into the 200s now. 53 more, makes that 5, 6, 265, 53 more. So I know this is annoying to do this work, but once I have this done, then I'm not having to play guess and check anymore. I can just do the work. So here's 8, 11, and 3, 318. Let's see what happens if I do one more time. So I'm going to bring my 318 up here where I have room. And here's 53. So here's 11, 5, 6, 7, and 3. 371 is too big. So I know it goes in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And I know 6 times 53 is 318. See, all this work is already done now. So 6 minus 8 I can't do. So this becomes 4. 16 minus 8 is 8. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 minus 3 is nothing. So now I'm going to bring down the 1. And if I add another group on here, I know there's only 10 to get from 371 to 381. So I already have this work done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So 67 times 53 is 371. And I know I have 10 left over. Bringing down my 6. It went in there 1, 2 times exactly. So if I have 67.2, 2 as my answer. If I times that by 5.3, I would get 356.16. So whatever you do to one number, you have to do to the other, because we want to clear out our decimals in our divisor to make us have whole groups up here. So let's go ahead and try task 1. So if you don't have a paper, you'll want paper to do these with me. So we have 6 toy blocks of the same length that are lined up next to each other. What is the length of one toy block? So I want to take this total here. So we have 7.8, and I'm cutting this into 6 pieces. So we have 7.8, and we're dividing it by 6. Now, 6 does not have a decimal in it, so that's pretty easy. We can just go ahead and do the problem. So this decimal, it's really like I'm doing 78 divided by 6. When I'm done, I just bring the decimal straight up here. So 6 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. So I subtract and bring down the 8 here. 6 goes into 18 exactly 3 times. So if I took 1.3 and I multiplied it by 6, 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 1 plus 1 is 7. There's my total, 7.8. These should match. So when you take your quotient and times it by your divisor, it should equal the dividend, since multiplication and division are just opposites of each other. So we know that every toy block is 1.3, 1.3, so on. When I add those all together, I get 7.8. So let's go ahead and complete the questions in task 1. So first we need to decide what is the problem we were doing. So what did we have our total divided by the pieces? And then we did our division there. So there is problem 1. So when you're ready to do that, let's head over to task 2. So task 2 tells us that Mr. Leon drives his car 443.75 miles and uses 12.5 gallons of gasoline. How many miles can Mr. Leon get per gallon? So that means I'm dividing by the gallons. This is second. So I have 443, and we're dividing 0.75. We're dividing this by 12.5. So I can see we're going to be dividing by this 0.5. This will be on the outside, 12.5 here. I need to times this by 10 and move it one place to the back, which means I need to move this one place to the back. So the new problem I'm doing is 4,437.5 divided by 125. So it's a lot easier to divide by 125 than to divide by decimals and fractions. So our problem that we are doing here is 4,437.5, and we're dividing by 125 because it's a lot easier to divide by 125 than finding groups of this half here. So I'm going to make my list here. 125 is kind of like quarters. I think that's a number I can count by. So I'm going to add on 100 from 125, makes that 225, plus 25 more, thinking quarters, is 250. And then another 100 makes that 3, plus 25 more is 75. Another 100 here is 475, plus 25 makes that go up to 500. Let's go one more and see where that gets us to. So another 100 is 600, plus 25 more is 625. 5. So I know I need something over the 4s, the 3s, the 7, here's my decimal, and something over the 5. So I know 125 can't go into 4, and it can't go into 44. But it can go into 443, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's too big, 3 times. So there's 3. 3 times 125 was 375. And it looks like I can't do 3 minus 5, so I need to come borrow. This becomes 3 and 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. I can't do 3 minus 7, so I'm borrowing again. 13 minus 7 is 6. We're at 68, bringing down my 7. So if I add on another 100 here, that makes it 700. Another 25 is 750, which is too big. So it goes in there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 5 times 125 is 625. So we're subtracting here. 7 minus 5 is 2. 8 minus 4 is 6. And bringing down my 5 is 625. So that goes in there exactly 5 times. We already have that work there. So when I take 35.5 and I multiply that by 125, that equals 4,437.5 here. So these matched up. Okay, so let's go ahead and answer the questions in task 2. So first we have to set up the problem. So we were dividing by the gallons per gallon. So splitting it into gallons. So gallons should be second. So match up the numbers there. And then remember, we wanted to make that, we had to move that decimal over. So instead of 12.5, we moved it back and times that by 10. So we also had to move it back in the divisor or dividend as well. So see which problem matches our new one that we did. You can go back and rewind the video to see what our new problem was if you need to. So remember, because we moved the decimal one time, we times that by 10. And we did that because it's easier to divide groups into whole numbers of groups. We wanted to divide by 125 instead of 12 and a half. Okay, so then we're going to complete the statements to show how we changed these. So we made this 10 times bigger. So we did the same thing here. We made it 10 times bigger. So 443.75 divided by 12. Is that the same? So it looks like they moved the decimal back behind the 7, moved the decimal back behind the 5. So they are the same there. And then you're going to show me your work here. So how did we do that? Here's your answer and putting it in a statement. Okay, so this wants to know, is it possible to make both the divisor and the dividend a whole number? So we were doing 4,000, let me look at this number, 4,437.5. So I want you to think if there's any way we could make both the dividend and the divisor into whole numbers. So we changed 12.5 to 125 by moving both of the decimals. Can you think of a way we could make all of the numbers whole numbers? So go ahead and see if you can answer that and come back when you're ready to do problem 3. Okay, problem 3, task number 3. We've got this teacher driving a rental car 276.3 miles and used 10.230 gallons of gas. Now, one thing we want to remember is we don't need the 0 at the end of a decimal. So 2 students, Kira and Shauna, both calculated how many miles the car got per gallon. So again, we want to be dividing by the gallons. So I need to move my decimal over 2 places. So that means I need to move it here 1, 2, and I'm going to fill this in with zeros. So we went from doing 276.3 divided by 10.23 to our new problem, 27630 divided by 10. We got rid of that. 1023. So we want to see who did their math correctly. So first we need to check that they even set it up correctly. So we're dividing by 1023. So 1023, 1023. So both of their divisors look good. So next, I want you to check the dividend. So they should have 27,630 inside. So look and see who has that. So 27630, that matches. 2763 decimal, they forgot to move their decimal one extra place. They only moved it one place instead of 1, 2. So remember, we have to match everything we're doing to our problems to keep them balanced. So Kira forgot to move her decimal 2 places. So her answer was 22.7. That says she's only can travel on a gallon of gas. She can only go 2 miles before that gallon is gone. That is very, very, very terrible gas mileage. So lots of cars go 20, 30, 40 miles on 1 gallon. And if you did that math there, that's only 2. So that's why we've got to do everything the same. So he can go about 27.1. So they rounded to the thousand or to the hundredths place. Oh, I don't know why I have a white marker. The 8 makes the 0 go up to a 1. So 27.01. Okay, let's go ahead and answer our questions here. So we know Kira forgot to move the decimal 2 places, but Shauna did. She moved it on the 23 and the 3, 0. She had to add a 0. So you're going to go through and see if you can answer. So we know Kira was wrong, Shauna was correct. So tell me why. And so remember, we can check our work. If I do 27.008 times by 1023, that answer is going to 27 times 1,000 is about 27,000. This one up here says 2 times 1,000. So yeah, that's sounding right, but it's just not reasonable. So we can check our work and make sure we were reasonable to start with. Okay, so go ahead and see if you can answer these questions here. And then why are both the dividend and the divisor multiplied by the same number? So remember, we times them both. On this one, it got 10, 100 times bigger. And then we had to do the same thing. So see if you can explain to me why we have to do it to both of the numbers. Okay, so you're going to finish this and you're going to work on your check for understanding and your practice homework and your independent work. If you need help, please let me know. So set up the problem, decide what do you have, what are you dividing it by. If the number you're dividing by that goes on the outside has decimals, you've got to move them over and match the inside. Hey, let me know if I can help you.